Hello guys and welcome to a new series in Boost Knowledge, and I'm finally happy to announce that Boost Knowledge is doing French, and this is the first ever lesson in French. So what are we going to learn in this lesson? Accents, greetings, and basic vocabulary, question introduction, pronouns, er verb conjugation, and the irregular verbs avoir and être. So firstly, what are the French accents? In French, there are 5 main accents you need to know: acute, grave, circumflex, cédille, and the tremor. So you can actually think of an accent as a different letter which sounds and looks similar to the original one. They cannot, and the accent, a letter and a letter with an accent, they can't replace each other, nor only because they look like the same or they sound like the same. So don't think of them having some huge connection or something. And the acute is a mark going up. So on the right, you can see an E acute. The grave is a mark going down, and there's an A grave. The circumflex looks like something going up and down, maybe an acute and a grave combined, maybe. And here you can see an O grave. Or O circumflex. The cédille looks like a thunderbolt underneath the letter, and here's a C cédille. A tremor, although very less used, looks like this: 2 dots above a letter, and that's an I tremor. When you spell words with an accent, you have to say the letter first and the accent. For example, an A which has an acute accent would be an A acute, etc. And in later French writing and doing tests, it is very important to include the accents, because if you miss them, they might mean completely different or sound completely different. So let's dive in with some basic greetings and phrases. So I'm going to throw them at you. Please do remember them. Bonjour, which means hello. It literally means bon, which means good, and jour, which means day. Salut, which means hi, hello, or bye sometimes. It's used informally. Au revoir, which means goodbye. It literally breaks up into 2 parts: re, which means again, and voir, which means to see, the infinitive. Bonsoir, which means good night. Like bonjour, it's made up of 2 parts: bon, which means good, and soir, which means night. Je m'appelle, and then you add in your name after it. So it literally means my name is. It means my name is blah blah blah. It literally means I call myself. Je means I, and m'appelle means I call myself. And this is actually a reflexive verb. I do something to myself, and we will learn about reflexive verbs and their conjugation later. Comment tu t'appelles, which means what's your name. Comment actually means what or what is, and it can also start a question. Tu t'appelles, you can see, looks very similar to je m'appelle, but as I said, it is reflexive verb conjugation. You can also see that appel and appel is different in spelling, because appel, tu t'appelles, has an S. Français, and here you see the cédille, which means French. It can mean the French language, and you can also mean the people who are French, whose nationality is French. Continuing. J'ai blah 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 un, which means I'm something years old. It literally means I have how many years. And by the way, there's not only this phrase, j'ai something un, you can also be like tu es blah 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 un, because we are going to learn the avoir conjugation later, and you can realize that you can use the avoir conjugation, être conjugation, and any verb conjugation if you need to use them. Quel âge as-tu? Quel âge as-tu? And you can see the A circumflex. It means how old are you? It literally means what age do you have. Comment ça va? Which means how are you? Comment, as I said, means what. It can also mean how. It introduces a question. Ça va means, of course, I'm fine, I'm good. Ça va bien means nearly the same thing. So bien means good. Merci, which means thanks or thank you. S'il vous plaît or s'il te plaît means please. It literally means if it pleases you. Beaucoup means a lot. Oops. Glitch there. Ici means here. Well, let's do some prepositions actually. La means there. Oui means yes, although that's not a preposition. Non means no. D'accord means okay. Le, la, les, or les means the. This is a definite article. Le is for masculine nouns. La is for feminine nouns. L apostrophe is for nouns beginning with a vowel. And les is for plural nouns. And we will cover the direct article and the indirect article on un later, which means a. And un by itself means one, the number one. A means at with a grave accent, and de means of. Don't know why it's glitching. In French, there are 3 ways to ask a question: informal, partially formal, and a very formal way. So the informal way is just to state the statement and add a question at the end. For example, if the statement is tu travailles ici, which means you work here, you just add a question mark. Tu travailles ici? And raise your voice. Do you work here? The more formal way is the second way. Change the location of change the place of the noun and the verb and add a hyphen between them. Of course, add a question mark at the end. Travailles-tu ici? Means do you work here? And the third way, add est-ce que before the sentence and add a question mark at the end. Est-ce que tu travailles ici? Which all means do you work here? Pronouns. As in English, there are 6 pronouns in French. Je, which means I. Tu, which means you singular. And you use it informally. This is the difference between tu and later I'll show you vous. If you want to say you to a friend or colleague or maybe parent or somebody you know, you use tu. For a stranger, a teacher, or something you want to use more formally, you use vous. I'll cover that later. Il and elle means he, she, or it. You can realize that it actually does not have a verb here, a word here. It's translated as il and elle according to its gender. Il means he or it with masculine gender, and elle means she or it with feminine gender. Nous means we. Vous means you plural or you singular using formally. And il, elle means they. Il is masculine and elle is feminine. Note that if there's one male, it's il, and if there are no males, it's elle. So even if there are 999 females with one male, it's still il. Kind of unfair. So let's do the present conjugation, RE verb. So there are 3 types of verb in French: RE verbs, ER verbs, and IR verbs. And today we're talking about the ER verbs. So that's why they called ER verbs. Their endings end in ER. So you might be wondering, what is conjugation? A conjugation is actually sort of like subject-verb agreements, where the verb has to change according to the subject or pronoun. An example of an ER verb, a very common one actually, is parler, which means to speak. When conjugating them, you knock off the ER or take it away, then add the following endings to the stem, which is parle, E, ES, E, ONS, EZ, and ENT, which makes je parle, I speak, tu parles, you speak, il, elle parle, he, she, it speaks, nous parlons, we speak, vous parlez, you plural speaks, and il, elle parle, they speak. Parle, although it sounds tempting to say parlen, it actually means parle. It actually pronounces as parle. ER verbs are actually very common, and other ER verbs include manger, to eat, marcher, to walk, voyager, to travel, travailler, which seems like it means to travel. It doesn't, it means to work. Aimer, which means to like. Jouer, which means to play. Danser, which means to dance, obviously. Regarder, which means to watch. Arriver, obviously, means to arrive. Décider, which means to decide, obviously. And chanter means to sing. There are no, as far as I know, or far as you need to know, there are no irregular ER verbs unless specified as an irregular. And speaking of irregular verbs, avoir and être. So what do they mean? Avoir means to have, and être means to be. And to be honest, in almost every language, to be, être, or any other to be, it's irregular. In English, it's to be, I am, you are, he, she, it is, we are, you are, they are. And French similarly. Je suis, tu es, il, elle est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils, elles sont. And beware of the accents. In et, there's an E circumflex, and in et, vous êtes, there's an E circumflex as well. Another irregular verb is avoir, which means to have, conjugated as j'ai, tu as, il, elle a, nous avons, vous avez, ils, elles ont. And notice that j'ai is actually one word. It is actually a contracted form of je ai, J-E, I, e, which is the conjugated form of I have. But because the E and the A clash, and in other circumstances when A and E clash, A and A clash, etc., you take off one of them and add an apostrophe, similarly in English. And that is the end of French lesson 1.1. In this lesson, you have learned accents, greetings, places, vocabulary, question introduction, pronouns, verb conjugation, and the irregular verbs avoir and être. I hope you did enjoy the video. Please subscribe for more, and do check our recent posts for revision on this lesson.